On Friday afternoon, Attorney General Dustin McDaniel dropped out of the 2014 governor's race after the December revelation of an extramarital affair. Former Lieutenant Governor Bill Halter says he's in. Joining me to talk politics is David Ramsey, Associate Editor with the Arkansas Times. You can find him online at arctimes.com.
Good to be here, Roby.
Covering the legislature, and
Indeed.
We segue to the other politics today.
Yeah, so. I was in the middle of a story on something else, and then all of a sudden the email and Twitter exploding with the news.
It was an explosion. That's a great way to describe it here. So here we find out on Friday afternoon, Dustin McDaniel, the front runner for governor who has struggled for the last month, drops out. Why do you think he dropped out of the race now?
Well, I think part of it is really just personal. I mean, you know, take the politics aside. If he stays in the race, the Andy Davis story wasn't going away. It's going to keep on coming up over and over again. And I think part of it, honestly, he's thinking about, does he really want to put himself and his family through that? Now, politically, more cynically, we can look at the fact that the poll numbers for him were tanking. And I think that if he had stayed in the race would have been about Andy Davis. And that would have been a liability if he got out of the primary. And I think he just decided it didn't make sense.
Yeah, and he offered some comments to some folks on Friday afternoon. He made the rounds, doing some interviews with some people, did seem very contrite, did seem to say it was going to be personal, it was going to be about me. That's not what I wanted this campaign to be about. Do you think that there's maybe a little bit of it, too, is that he would be a drag on the Democratic ticket going forward?
Well, absolutely. That's part of what I meant. If he got out of the primary and made it into the general, again, the story isn't going away. I mean, that's the part of it that I think we have to keep in mind is that even if he survives sort of this in the short term, there's just going to be a drip, drip, drip effect. We know that eventually there's probably going to be text messages that are going to come out. We know that Andy Davis has said that she's not entirely satisfied with his apology, so she may have more to say. So if he stayed in the race, this would keep on coming. It's already going to be a tough deal for a Democrat to win a statewide election in Arkansas. Arkansas is a state that's becoming more and more of a red state, and to have a candidate who, as recently as 2 months ago looked fairly strong, but now you have this nasty story that's going to keep on coming up. I think he decided, like you said, it was just going to be a drag on the Democratic Party if he stayed in the race.
Yeah, I feel a little bit like I should have been looking in the rearview mirror here, but I had indicated in an interview I had done just Friday morning before all the announcement came out, he's got more than $1 million in the bank. Why would he get out right away? I mean, he might as well hang around, but he clearly decided, I've analyzed it. It wasn't going to get any better. It's going to refund the money. So
well, and like I said, as soon as he decided that maybe it didn't really make sense for him to stay, that he couldn't win, then every day that you're in it, you're inviting these stories to keep on dragging, to keep on coming up. And I do think it's mostly about if he thought he could win, I think he would stay in. But I also think he's got a family, and this can't be fun.
Yeah. So we find out, too, almost simultaneously that Lieutenant Governor Bill Halter is going to run for governor. He kicks out a press release saying, I'm in.
Right. And, with Arkansas Times, Max Brantley has said he thinks this is a little slimy. The timing, I think this is going to look a little ugly to people. Obviously, for Bill Halter, this is a dream come true. It's a perfect situation. He was, I think that he would have had trouble competing with Dustin McDaniel. Now he's, I guess, sort of kind of the front runner. I guess he's the only runner right now.
Yeah.
So this kind of worked out well for him. I think, there is a perception that maybe he's not the world's best retail politician, that he doesn't always have the greatest instincts. And I will say, announcing that you're in on the same day that your opponent announces that he's out because of a sex scandal, maybe not the smoothest move.
We've got some other names that may get into the race. You've got John Burkhalter. There's even some talk, maybe some of the regional candidates that would not have considered getting in with a McDaniel candidacy, such as a Mike Malone up in Northwest Arkansas, Chris Thomason down in South Arkansas, Shane Broadway is another name that's floated. There's a much more levelized field, but there's still one big player out there who could come back.
Mike Ross would be a game changer. I think that if he decided to do it, he would emerge as the front runner. And I do think that, the idea that this is going to be kind of a wide open contest, I think the Jay Barth, the politics professor over at Hendrix, tweeted about this and suggested that you'd have, basically lots and lots of candidates coming out of the woodwork. Someone like Bill Halter is not going to scare those folks away. Mike Ross might. So I think that's the thing that everyone will be watching. He says that he's not going to do it, but he also says never say never. And the idea of running might be more enticing now than it was a few weeks ago.
And we can't neglect that the Republicans on the other side, they have Asa Hutchinson really as their presumed front runner for the nomination right now. This obviously has to be good news for him. I mean, you've got one more less formidable candidate to have to deal with.
Sure, and he's doing exactly what you should do, which is say nothing and just let this kind of go. If it was a godsend for Bill Halter, it certainly was for Asa Hutchinson as well. I don't think it's necessarily certain that he's going to be the Republican candidate. I wouldn't be surprised to see other folks get in the race on that side. But as you say, it does look like he's the one for now. And the fact remains, regardless of who runs on the Democratic side, it is going to be tough to win a statewide race in Arkansas unless you're as charismatic as Mike Beebe. And I think that even if Dustin McDaniel didn't have this scandal, it was going to be tough. If the candidate is someone with even less name recognition, it's going to be even tougher. So we'll see how it plays out. But you saw with the Tim Griffin race, that's a district that's pretty friendly for a Democrat. But the Democrats didn't put up a candidate with enough name recognition, with enough sort of appeal, and they fell flat.
So we got about 60 seconds left here. Let's talk about a little bit of what's going on at the state capitol. The Medicaid debate has shifted a little bit this week. We've seen some other ideas and proposals kind of floating out there. If you could capsulize that in 60 seconds or less, what would you say is going on?
I think the basic deal is that there is a lot of interest in a compromise around the idea of partial expansion, which would mean Medicaid expansion happens, but it doesn't happen all the way up to 138% of the federal poverty level like the Affordable Care Act proposes. The problem is, and that could be a compromise solution. A lot of folks think that's where this is going. The problem is the feds have said if you want those good matching rates that come with the Affordable Care Act, you have to expand all the way up to 138. So a lot of the Republicans right now, I think, are putting all their eggs in that compromise basket. If the feds say no, we may have no Medicaid expansion.
And we'll see. We'll have you back on to talk about Medicaid when another bombshell doesn't overtake our events here.
Right.
So.
Who knows who will drop out of the race if you do that.